Today we'll be finishing my book, Journey to Mount Sinai, which covers Exodus 13 through 19. Looking at the table of contents, we have done the first 10 chapters. And basically, it starts from when they leave Exodus. They leave Succoth in Exodus. It starts in chapter 1. And they arrive in Mount Sinai by chapter 11, actually. So this is a chapter of all the different things that happen along the way. We all know about crossing the Red Sea and the major events that happened there. And then we have, though, the bitter waters in Marah, and we have the introduction of manna and quail, which we'll have for over 40 years, and then water from a rock to handle their water situation. They have battles with Amalek and the Amalekites, and then they go through all those things, and God helps them in each and every one of them. Then in chapter 10, Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, comes to visit with Zipporah, Gershom, and Eleazar. And then he helps him understand that he needs to divide the labor. He cannot do everything. So that's why when we learn, and this is what a lot of our systems are built on today. The main ruler, and then ruler of thousands, hundreds, fifties, tens, etc. And so now we're going to be working on chapter 11. Arrival at Mount Sinai. Exodus 19, 1 through 25, 20:18 through 21, and 24, 1, 2, and 8. And basically, I'm just giving you little excerpts of finishing the story of when they arrive. Some of this will be then used in the next book as well, 20 and 24, of course. Okay, Exodus 19:1. In the third month, after the children of Israel had gone out of the land of Egypt, on the same day, they came to the wilderness of Sinai, for they had departed from Rephidim and had come to the wilderness of Sinai and camped in the wilderness. So Israel camped there before the mountain. So I just wanted to real quickly go back and show you something. First, you have the map here of their trips. We've already gone through that some, but we also have this timeline of Exodus, and basically it's going to take just a couple months to go from Egypt to Mount Sinai. But with the information that we get both from Exodus and from Numbers, we can plot this out as to actually how long it took from step to step. So basically, about a month and a half after leaving Ramses, 372 miles they've traveled, and they get to the base of Mount Sinai. Okay, so now we get back to what we were studying. Okay, so, okay, again. Sometimes how Moses wrote and how it translated made for multiple interpretations. However, based on dates further in the story, this is not translated as they have traveled 3 months, but the third month of their calendar, which is Shivan. On the same day can also be interpreted several ways. It could be the same day as they left, which would be the 15th, or the same day as the month, which would be the 3rd, or lastly, what seems to match further dates, the 1st of the month or the 1st of Shivan, which means they've traveled 1.5 months or about 45 days. They'll be here at least a year and perhaps up to 2 years. So this is the same location that Moses saw the burning bush and talked with God in Exodus 3:1, and the same location that God promised Moses he would come back to, Exodus 3:12. Where did they finally arrive at? Mount Sinai, or Horeb, Mount Horeb. Had Moses been there before? Yes, he was there talking to the burning bush, or God through the burning bush, if you want to be specific. What's another name for this mountain? Mount Horeb. Exodus 19:3, and Moses went up to God, and God called him to him from the mountain, saying, Thus you shall say to the house of Jacob and tell the children of Israel, You have seen what I did to the Egyptians and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. What are the two names God gave the people that have come? House of Jacob, children of Israel. God tells Moses to remind the people of three things. What is it? You have seen what I did to the Egyptians, how I bore you on eagle's wings, and how I brought you to myself. God did not really have the Israelites carried on eagle's wings, but he did surround and protect them. What was with the Israelites throughout their travels? The angel of the Lord and the pillar of fire cloud. Moses later writes about this statement of God's. Deuteronomy 32, 11 through 12a. As an eagle stirs up its nest, hovers over its young, spreading out its wings, taking them up, carrying them on its wings, so that the Lord alone led them. Scriptures continue. Exodus 19:5. And now, therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, then you shall be a special treasure to me above all people. All the earth is mine, and you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words which you shall speak to the children of Israel. If the Israelites obeyed God's voice and kept his covenant, then what would they become? A special treasure to God above all people, a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. What does it mean, a kingdom of priests? In this case, a kingdom of priests would be a special people that represented God to the world. The scripture below talk about Christians. As Christians, are we also kingdom of priests? What do you think about that? So let's read the scriptures. 1 Peter 2:9. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, his own special people, that you may proclaim the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Revelations 1:5 through 6. To him who loved us and washed us from our sins in his own blood and has made us kings and priests to his God and Father. So, as Christians, are we a kingdom of priests? Yes. What do you think about that? Well, it's interesting. We are the witnesses. We are the people who should tell others about Christ. Scriptures continue. Exodus 19:7. So Moses came and called for the elders of the people and laid before them all these words which the Lord commanded him. Then all the people answered together and said, all that the Lord has spoken we will do. So Moses brought back the words of the people to the Lord. And the Lord said to Moses, behold, I come to you in a thick cloud, that the people may hear what I speak with you and believe you forever. So who did Moses call to him? Elders of the people. So the words came from God to Moses, from Moses to the elders, from the elders to the people, then back through the elders to Moses. Then Moses took it to God. What did the people agree to? They agreed all that Lord has spoken we will do. At this time, the people agree without knowing the specifics. In Exodus 24, they'll be given the chance again to agree or disagree to God's laws. God could already hear the decision of the people. Why do you think he set up this relay of the decision? So that everybody's involved and that proper channels, so everybody's in part of it. Why is God going to speak to Moses where all the people can hear? So that they would believe in Moses forever and not discount him or anything. Exodus 19:9b. So Moses told the words of the people to the Lord. Then the Lord said to Moses, go to the people and consecrate them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes, and let them be ready for the third day. For on the third day the Lord will come down from Mount Sinai in the sight of all the people. Consecrate literally means set apart for a holy purpose. How many days would the people have to be consecrated? 3 days, I believe. Today and tomorrow, 2 days. What action were they to take to become consecrated? Consecrated, not concentrate. Yeah, consecrated is to wash their clothes and clean everything that they have. This action is to symbolize what should be going on in their hearts. Read the scripture below. In your opinion, when we consecrate ourselves for the Lord, how should our heart be? And what type of thoughts should our mind be avoiding? So the scriptures below, Psalms 51:10, create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Romans 12:1 through 3, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that is good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So our heart should be pure and clean. What types of thoughts should our mind be avoiding? Anything that is evil or bad. What was the Lord going to do on the third day? He was going to come down in the sight of all the people. Exodus 19:12. You shall set bounds for the people all around, saying, take heed to yourselves that you do not go up to the mountain or touch its base. Whoever touches the mountain shall surely be put to death. Not a hand shall touch him, but he shall surely be stoned or shot with an arrow. Whether man or beast, he shall not live. When the trumpet sounds long, they shall come near the mountain. So what were the people not to do? They were not to go up on the mountain or touch its base. What happens to the people or animals that go up on the mountain or touch its base? They will be killed. How were these people or animals who disobeyed to be killed? By stoned or arrow. They're not to be touched. Basically, these people or animals who disobeyed could not even be touched. Exactly. When would the people know it was time to come near the mountain? When the trumpet sounds long. Why do you think the people or animals should not go near the mountain until the trumpet sounded? Because God is surrounding the mountain and all his presence is going to be on the mountain. And so a human person and a human animal, animal cannot get through that glory there. Now, as spirits, we can, but not in our human body and these things. That's how I feel anyway. Scriptures continue. So Moses went down from the mountain to the people and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes. And he said to the people, be ready for the third day. Do not come near your wives. Then it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there was thunderings and lightnings and a thick cloud on the mountain, and the sound of the trumpet was very loud, so that all the people who were in the camp trembled. Okay. What was another action the people had to take to be sanctified? Don't come near their wives. Don't have relations with your spouse is really what it is. What were the things that people could see that were new on the third day? There was thunder and lightnings and a thick cloud on the mountain, and the sound of the trumpet was very loud. What was the sound they heard? The sound of the trumpet. How did the people react to all they saw and they heard? They were trembling and scared. From Hebrews, we know that even Moses was afraid. Hebrews 12:21. And so terrifying was the sight that Moses said, I'm exceedingly afraid and trembling. Scriptures continue. Exodus 19:17. And Moses brought the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. Now Mount Sinai was completely in smoke because the Lord descended upon it in fire. Its smoke ascended like the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mountain quaked greatly. And when the blast of the trumpet sounded long and became louder and louder, Moses spoke, and the God answered him by voice. Then the Lord came down upon Mount Sinai on the top of the mountain. The Lord called Moses to the top of the mountain, and Moses went up. What were all the visuals that the people saw when God descended on Mount Sinai? It was in smoke and fire, and there was quaking. Who spoke first, Moses or God? Moses spoke first. Reading below, did the people actually see God? Deuteronomy 4:11 through 12. Then you came near and stood at the foot of the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire to the midst of heaven, with darkness, cloud, and thick darkness. And the Lord spoke to you out of the midst of the fire. You heard the sound of the words, but saw no form. You only heard a voice. Did the people actually see God? No, they just heard his voice. Exodus 19:21. And the Lord said to Moses, go down and warn the people lest they break through the gaze of the Lord, and many of them perish. Also let the priests who come near the Lord consecrate themselves, lest the Lord breaks out against them. But Moses said to the Lord, the people can't come to Mount Sinai, for you warned us, saying, set bounds around the mountain and consecrate it. Then the Lord said to him, away, get down and then come up, you and Aaron with you, but do not let the priests and the people break through to come to the Lord, lest he break out against them. So the Lord went down to the people and spoke to them. Who was able to come up with Moses the second time he goes up on the mountain? and he's Aaron and the priests, right? You and Aaron. So just Aaron. Sorry. What would happen if anyone gazed at the Lord? That they would be killed. God tells Moses later in Exodus 33:20, but he said, "You cannot see my face, for no man shall see me and live." Exodus 20:18-21. So now I'm giving a little bit of excerpts of what happened. That again will be covered in the next book. Now all the people witnessed the thunderings, the lightning flashes, the sound of the trumpet, and the mountain smoking. And when people saw it, they trembled and stood afar off. Then they said to Moses, "You speak with us, and we will hear, but let not God speak with us, lest we die." So they were very, very afraid. And then Exodus 24:1. Now he said to Moses, "Come up to the Lord, you and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and worship from afar. And Moses alone shall come near the Lord." So Moses went in the midst of the cloud and went up in the mountain. And Moses was on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. So that will then be covered in the next book. But I wanted to give you a sense of what is going to be happening here in this book. And this is the end of the chapter and the end of the book. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.